November 25th, 2015, we're going to be reading Acts chapter 5, verses 3 through 3 through 21, and then we're going to get into Acts chapter 6 tomorrow. As you can see here, this is my new company called Out of the Ashes. It's a t-shirt company and hopefully activewear and sportswear. Eventually, what I want to do Rise and Shine, which would be the women's side of it, and this is my nephew Jack. Say hi.
Yum, yum.
Jack's eating a banana. Jack, you know why we're on the program here? Jack, do you know why I do this video blog?
Why?
Because I'm reading people the Bible.
Oh.
Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, then Peter said, so this is Acts chapter 5, verses 3 through 21. Then Peter said, Ananias, how is it that Satan has filled your heart, that you have lied to the Holy Spirit, and you've kept yourself from the money you received for the land? Didn't it belong to you before it was sold? And after it was sold, wasn't the money at your disposal? What made you think doing such a thing? You have not lied just to human beings, but to God. When Ananias heard this, he fell down and died. A greater fear seized all who had heard what happened. Then some young man came forward, wrapped his body, and carried him out of the buried him. About 3 hours later, his wife came in, not knowing what happened. Peter asked her, "Tell me, is this the price you and Ananias got for the land?" "Yes," she said, "that was the price." Peter said to her, "How could you conspire to test the Spirit of the Lord? Listen, the feet of men who buried your husband are at the door, and they will carry you out also." Jack, this is for people to see, so you have to make sure you're being conscious of that. Okay. Peter said to her, "How can you conspire to test the Spirit of the Lord? Listen, the feet of the men who buried your husband are at the door, and they will carry you out also." At that moment she fell down at his feet and died. And the young man came in, and finding her dead, carried her out and buried her beside her husband. Great fear seized the whole church and all who had heard about these events. The apostles performed many signs and wonders among the people, and all believers used to meet together in Solomon's colonnade. No one else dared join them, even though they were highly regarded by the people. Nevertheless, more and more men and women believed in the Lord and were added into their number. As a result, people brought the sick into streets and laid them on the beds and the mats, so that at least Peter's shadow might fall on some of them as he passed by. Crowds gathered also in the towns around Jerusalem, bringing their sick and those tormented by impure spirits, and all of them were healed. Then the high priest and all of his associates, who were members of the party of the Sadducees, were filled with jealousy. They arrested the apostles and put them in public jail. But during the night, an angel of the Lord opened the doors of the jail and brought them out. "Go stand in the temple courts," he said, "and tell the people all about this new life." At daybreak they entered the temple courts, as they had been told, and began to teach people. When the high priest and the associates arrived, they called together the Sanhedrin, a full assembly of the elders of Israel, and sent to jail for the apostles. But on arriving at the jail, the officers did not find them there. So they went back and reported, "We found the jail securely locked with guards standing at the doors, but when we opened them, we found no one inside." On hearing this report, the captain of the temple guard and the chief priests were at a loss, wondering what this might lead to. So obviously they're out of jail. Christians are persecuted. We know this. This is not uncommon. Okay, so what does not disappoint? So our daily read here. So what was the perspective? Oh, we saw that yesterday. Viktor Frankl, we read about that. So zeroing in. When we use a camera, we need to consider your focus. When you use a camera, you need to consider your focus. If you want a good, clear photo, first you need to decide the frame of your shot, what will be included in the picture, and what will be left out. Then you must use your zoom, pinpoint, and viewfinder, and you will find the center of the image and adjust the focus. So that the most important part of it, what you're viewing, becomes clear. While it is related to perspective, how you see the world focuses on more about what you choose to see and how clearly you see it. In other words, the ideas, people, or circumstances you choose to zero in on. The problem isn't learning how to focus exactly. I guarantee you that if you spend your days focusing on something like many things, the trick is to learn how to focus on what matters and also to train your focus so you're better prepared to live the life that matters. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. Not on earthly things. That is Colossians 3:12. Colossians is a good book. I'm starting to realize I really like that book. So eye candy. At the county fair, your eyes zoom in on a sign, cotton candy. The billowy confection forms around the cardboard cone. You pull off the first bite like you're plucking fruit off the finest tree. A rush of pleasure bursts on your taste buds before melting into nothing. And nothing it is. While it appears to have size and substance, promising a world delight is mostly in air and few grains of sugar. As occasional indulgence, such eye candy is fine, but for many of us, it's more than just occasional. Your eyes are always drawn to who's divorcing from the magazine rack. You're obsessed with how your favorite team is doing. You can't wait to see which reality TV show housewife goes off the rails next. You are what you eat. Likewise, you tend to resemble what you most look upon. Resolve in your mind that you'll spend more of your time focusing on what matters. So Aesop said, beware lest you lose the substance of grasping at the shadow. Tomorrow we'll read Zoom Out. A little bit about my day. I woke up at 5:15 this morning and I powered through. I did not pass any of my post tests in my math course, but I still kept going, persevered. I had my other acting class and I had to read a children's book aloud, and then I watched a documentary about Bob Marley and the significance of his role that he played during a time where there was a lot of turmoil and a lot of wars going on, and a division between Jamaica and in Jamaica, and also when Zimbabwe became a state, and so the revolution there. So he was an incredibly humanitarian. He was a visionary. He was dedicated. He came from an extreme amount of poverty and nothing, and he carved his way out because he had a dream. And he stuck to his dream, and he never gave up. And he woke up, he slept 4 hours a day. He was extremely dedicated, and it took him a long time to be successful. And he had this house in Jamaica, and he would let people come over, and random people from all over Jamaica and different parts of the world, and he would give them money to help them. So he was a man, wise man of his years. He died at 36 of cancer. He had an issue with it early on and didn't pay any attention to it, so if you have problems, you need to get them checked out. So anyway, he was not a Christian. He was a Rastafarian, and he believed that a certain individual living at the time was Jesus reincarnate, or God reincarnate. He went about it in a different way, but nobody knows the heart of another man like God knows the heart. So we don't know that. All I know is what we can see, and what we can see is that although he may have been quite the ladies' man, he was icon. He was famous. He not famous. He was legendary. So all we can hope to do is that if you achieve that level of fame, that you give back, and that's what he did. So he came out of the ashes. That's exactly how I feel. And perseverance does work, and it makes us and builds us character. And so we, as Christians, even though we are persecuted, we know for the greater good and for the purpose of God and for God's plan to work. We know that we were created by God, the Maker. So if you were called to do something, your life will never be fulfilled unless you do these things. And I'm still trying to find out my purpose, and I think that we all still have those questions, and it's incredible to see people that are following God and are on the right path to success. So the thing is to clarify your vision and to clarify your dream, and those dreams are put there for a reason. It means you're capable of them. If you can believe it, you can see it. So men thinketh, a man doeth. I think it's one of the scriptures in the Bible. Anyway, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and so we'll do a segment on what we're thankful for. And yeah, that's where we're at today. I'm extremely tired and my head hurts, but I'm here and we're staying committed, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.